Okay, so this is what it's going to look like when we're all done. Spoilers. If you just wanted to click in and see the end result, you don't have to click and drag to the end. But I do appreciate everyone who watches moving forward. It's going to be a pretty thorough, in-depth demonstration and commentary of how I got this guy from a plastic gray miniature to what you see now. So these are the colors that we're going to use in this tutorial. Starting from left to right, we're going to start with a darker color, German Cam dark green. We're going to use a mid-tone of US olive drab. And then we're going to highlight somewhere between light green gray and US olive drab in a 1-to-1 mix before using very light touches of light green gray on its own as the highlights. To make the whole thing look warmer, we're going to add in medium flesh tone, which is a yellow tone, in key areas around the highlights, and then we'll just give it a warmer look at the end. But these three are going to be the main for the green color uniform. And this application can be used with any color. You take a dark color, a mid-tone, and a light, and you apply it the way we apply it in this video, and you'll have the nice even transitions between the colors. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to properly thin your paints for application on the miniature, and we're going to start with the darkest green first. It's really important that you give them a good shake, make sure that they are fully blended through. You can see here in an example that I have that there's some green around the rim here. This has not been shaken up. This English uniform hasn't been shaken in quite some time, so the colors inside the bottle are beginning to separate a bit. So when you shake it up, you get a good indication of the blend by how it looks along the bottle. But you can always pour it out and stir it up too. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pour a little bit out. One of the tricks with these dropper bottles from Vallejo is to test a little dot first and see how watery it comes out. And if it comes out real watery, you need to shake it up more. And you want it to pull out in like an even consistency like this. So I'm going to get in close here. And then I'm going to enhance. Okay, so you can see there's a little bubble that forms. Like that has some good, so they call it water tension, right? It has some pretty good water tension. It's not just pulling out and filling out and creating a big wet circle until it tightens up. It's got pretty good consistency. So adding water to this, good density, I'm sorry. Adding water to this, just I had water on my brush. I'll show you how much I'm adding right next to here. See, it's like a drop. So I'm essentially adding the water from the brush into the mixture and pulling it out and smoothing it out as I go. Now you can go straight into it like this. I just find that I run a higher risk of getting paint too far up the bristles into the furrow here, which can damage the brush. So I'm always trying to be very conscious of that. And if I do get it too high, I'm rinsing it out, and then I'm going to I have this great extra. This is a sponge. This is the same sponge that comes, the Army Painter sponge, but it makes an awesome tool for just drying your brushes and getting all the moisture off quickly if you need to go back to like a semi-dry brush or a semi-moist brush. So then that lets me control the consistency better. So now I've added a drop of water to a drop of paint. And it's not, it's not 100%, it's not 1-to-1 exactly, but we're getting this nice creamy texture, and it's not bubbling up too much, which would mean that it's too wet, but it's also pulling. So if we pull it down here, there's more water here, so it's going to make it even thinner. But what a lot of painters do is they'll test it on their hands like this. And how you know you have a good pull is the cracks of your skin don't shine through, so it's not like a dry brush, it actually fills in. So this is actually probably a little dry, but you kind of get the idea by working the paint consistently, you get cleaner pulls. So that's what you'll do for the base. So and I'm going to demonstrate that next, and then what you'll see me do is add in the US olive. So then I'll go to the US olive drab, and I'll do the same thing, but I'll try and make it even lighter. So I'll put a little on the palette here. I don't want to go, so I'm sorry, I don't want to go full force with this. I want to kind of do the same thing I did here, and I'm going to apply just partially where I see raised edges. I'm going to cover about, maybe 70% of the raised area, and then the other 30 to 20% will be the highlight on top of this. And if you want to go even like a ways different, like, with smoothing out this blend, you're going to combine the US olive drab and the German dark green and create a mid-tone between the two. You can paint that way. It adds another step in, so you've got dark green, olive green, but then there's a mix in between. And then you can go up in the highlight from this. And what I'm doing with, what you'll see me do with the light green gray is I'm not doing this 100%. I'm doing this at like 20, maybe 40%, I think. Now, it's something like, I just want to get to this olive green up a level, you know? I want it to be up a level, but I don't want it to be too bright. And then I'll do very fine accents with this closer to pure out of the bottle light green, but I still think the light green is a little too bright. I just don't have a perfect highlight for this green in my arsenal, so I'm choosing to mix one with these two colors. But this being so bright, it gives me a lot of it'll give me a lot of flexibility with the mixing process. All right, let's get into the examples now. So with my brush fully loaded up, I'm going to begin picking out key areas around the miniature that I find interesting as starting points. But really what I'm doing is exploring the finer details of the sculpt and figuring out where I'm going to put those midtones and then those highlights while I'm doing this low tone first. So this is the dark camo green that I showed you in the beginning of the video. And right now I'm just working the paint all over the miniature, trying to apply even consistent coverage and making sure that there aren't any black spots filled in. And if I can try and be as deliberate as I am able to with the paint application process. So I'm not being conscious not to cover over the straps or get any paint on the skin or, do the ammo pouches just yet. I don't want to touch the boots. It's really just covering the cloth and getting that base low level tone down, which will set up for the lighter greens and give it a really nice contrast when we're all done. Next, I begin to introduce that US olive drab to what I've determined will be the highlights. I'm using the lights above me actually as reference lighting, so everything that is being hit with a highlight from the light above is generally where I'm placing the highlights on the miniature's uniform, and then that will be elevated to the next degree with a little bit of that light green gray mixed in. So just bringing it up gradual increments, 20-40%, before using a little bit of that light green pure out of the bottle to highlight everything. And so, yeah, that's what you see me doing here. I'm actually realizing, and this is me in real time, realizing that the light green straight out of the bottle is far too bright and is too dramatic a change in contrast. So what I end up doing is mixing it 1-to-1 with the US olive drab, and then that brings the tone down into the more green spectrum, and it just dulls the highlight a good bit. I did sort of, as you can see from the example here, did sort of like apply it across the board, seeing how far it could take me. And then as it dried, I started to notice that it was actually like the perfect color. So in my mind, for the example I was trying to set, at least, it created a nice mix between, that off green olive drab and that light green teal that really makes it pop off. So it was definitely an experimental type procedure, but I was really happy with the end result. And I think it's easy to replicate because you're still going from the darkest dark to the lightest light. And with some additional warm tone, like I'm going to add in here, this is that mid flesh tone color, really watered down, like 75-1, and I'm just blotting it on in little soft highlights. So it covers up some of those whiter whites and it gives it more of a yellowy warm color. So it's sort of like a way for me to dial back how bright and cold it felt and give it just a little bit of a style and a warmth to it. So across the whole miniature, I might add in some more yellow, and I'm even thinking about adding in some blue into the shade to accent the and contrast the yellow. It's still a work in progress, but I'm liking this miniature's overall look so far. Here he is, all done, and take your time with it. Let me know how you did in the comments below if you like this tutorial, if you want to see more of them, and if there's anything else you'd like to see me paint in the future, specifics you want to learn, I'll learn them and then I'll teach them to you in real time. Thanks again for watching. Like and subscribe, all that stuff. Check out my Patreon. I appreciate all the help and support I get from people over there. Have a great rest of your day.